Hello and welcome to News on the Hour. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi will be the chief guest at India's 74th Republic Day Parade. This is for the first time that President of the Arab Republic of Egypt has been invited as chief guest on India's Republic Day. We'll tell you all about it, plus also how the preparations are going on in New Delhi for the mega event. In international news, another mass shooting rocks California city of Half Moon Bay, killing 7 people as of now. In the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukraine pledges sweeping personnel changes as allies jostle over tanks. All this and more over the next 1 hour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Up first, the headlines. California rocked by another mass shooting. At least 7 people killed in 2 related shootings in the beachside community of Half Moon Bay in Northern California. It comes just 2 days after 10 people were killed in another mass shooting in Monterey Park. Suspect taken into custody. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to arrive in India today to attend India's 74th Republic Day as chief guest. President Sisi will also have a bilateral meeting and delegation-level talks with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar awardees today. This year, President Draupadi Murmu gave awards to 11 children for their exceptional achievements in the fields of art, culture, courage, innovation, social service and sports. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak orders an investigation into the tax affairs of chairman of his Conservative Party Nadhim Zahawi. Sunak says there were questions that needed answering, and Zahawi has fully agreed to cooperate with the investigation. 4 more members of far-right Oath Keepers found guilty of seditious conspiracy for their roles in the US Capitol Riot. Members of extremist group were among those who attacked Capitol on January 6, 2021 in an attempt to prevent Congress from certifying Joe Biden's 2020 election victory. Brazilian President Lula da Silva says Argentina and Brazil in early talks to establish a shared unit of value for bilateral trade to reduce reliance on US dollar. The instrument is aimed at boosting trade within the Mercosur bloc, including Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay and Venezuela. And in sports, India eyes series sweep against New Zealand in the 3rd and final one-day in Indore today. A win at the Holker Stadium will also help Men in Blue to become the new #1 side in the format. And quarterfinals of the 2023 Men's Hockey World Cup begin from today in Bhubaneswar. 8 teams ducking it out to keep their dreams of becoming world champions alive. In the first quarter, Australia clashed with a resurgent Spain, while champions Belgium's match with host beaters New Zealand in the second quarter final today. Hello and welcome to News on the Hour once again. A day after a gunman killed 10 people at a Los Angeles area ballroom dance club following a Lunar New Year celebration, 7 people were shot dead in a mass shooting at 2 locations in the coastal Northern Californian city of Half Moon Bay on Monday. Officials said the suspect was later taken into custody after driving to a police parking lot. Half Moon Bay is about 50 kilometers south of San Francisco. Sheriff Christina Corpus told a news conference that deputies responding to a call found 4 people dead and the 5th victim wounded at the first location in Half Moon Bay, then found 3 more dead at another place nearby.
At 2:22 p.m., sheriff's deputies were dispatched to the 12700 block of San Mateo Road, Highway 92, in unincorporated San Mateo County, on the report of a shooting with multiple victims. Upon arrival, deputies located 4 victims deceased with gunshot wounds. A 5th victim, also suffering from a gunshot wound, was transported to Stanford Medical Center with life-threatening injuries. The suspect was not immediately located. Shortly thereafter, 3 additional victims were also located deceased with gunshot wounds at a separate shooting scene in the 2100 block of Cabrillo Highway South. The motive for the shooting is currently unknown. Through investigation, the suspect, identified as Chung Lee Zhao, a 67-year-old Half Moon Bay resident. At 4:40 p.m., Zhao was located in his vehicle in the parking lot of the sheriff's substation here in Half Moon Bay by a sheriff's deputy. Zhao was taken into custody without incident, and a semi-automatic handgun was located in his vehicle. Zhao is believed to have acted alone, and there is no further threat to this community.
So America continues to be plagued by gun violence, and California there seeing mass shootings within a matter of 3 days now. Moving on in the bulletin, President of Egypt Abdul Fattah al-Sisi will arrive in New Delhi today at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. President Sisi, who will be on his second state visit to India, will be the chief guest on India's 74th Republic Day. This is for the first time that President of the Arab Republic of Egypt has been invited as the chief guest on our Republic Day. A military contingent from the Egyptian army will also participate in the Republic Day parade. President Sisi will be accompanied by a high-level delegation, including 5 ministers and senior officials. President Sisi has previously visited India in October 2015 to participate in the 3rd India-Africa Forum Summit, and in September 2016 on a state visit. India and Egypt are celebrating 75 years of establishment of diplomatic relations this year. Egypt has also been invited as a guest country during India's presidency of the G20 in 2022-23. President Sisi will be accorded a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan on 25th of January 2023, and President Draupadi Murmu will host a state banquet in honor of the visiting dignitary the same evening. President Sisi will have a bilateral meeting and delegation-level talks with the Prime Minister on bilateral, regional and global issues of mutual interest. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will call on President Sisi. The visiting dignitary will also interact with the Indian business community at a business event on the same day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar awardees today. The Government of India has been conferring the Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar to children for their exceptional achievements in 6 categories. These categories include innovation, social service, scholastic, sports, art and culture and bravery. Each awardee is given a medal, a cash prize of 1 lakh rupees and a certificate. This year, 11 children from across the country under different categories of Bal Shakti Puraskar have been selected for these Rashtriya Bal Puraskar 2023. The awardees include 6 boys and 5 girls belonging to 11 states and union territories. And like we told you, this year on the 74th Republic Day of India, 144-member Egyptian military contingent will march at the Kartavya Path, and it will be a special attraction for the onlookers. Also, the military equipment being showcased this year is made in India, highlighting how India is becoming self-reliant in its military hardware. Our correspondent Nandita Dagar spoke to one of the organizers of the parade.
In this parade, 3 Paramveer Chakra awardees and 3 Ashok Chakra awardees also participating. We would also have the Egyptian contingent participating in the parade with us, and all the Indian Army equipment which is being showcased in this parade is indigenized. We would be showing the yes, under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are using all the indigenized equipment in this parade. You would be able to see MBT Arjun, you would also see the Nag missile system and the BMP-2s. You would also see the K9 Vajra guns, self-propelled guns, and also the mobile automatic launcher of the BrahMos missile system, as also the mobile microwave node and the mobile network center of the for the communications, and the 10-meter short span bridge which is used by the Corps of Engineers in the battles, and also the Akash weapon system.
25-pounder guns are phased out.
Yeah, in the Republic Day celebration, the 21-gun salute would also be given by 105 mm Indian field gun this time, and that is also showcasing that we are transitioning towards the indigenized equipment.
A lady army officer from the Indian Army is also participating in the Daredevil team, which will carry out several enthralling stunts on motorbikes. Listen in to Dimple Bhatti.
पहली बात तो आई एम वेरी प्राउड एंड फीलिंग वेरी गुड एंड मेमोरेबल अबाउट इट दैट आई गेट द चांस टू वॉक द रिपब्लिक डे परेड 2023. मुश्किल था, पिछले एक साल से मैं इस दिन की तैयारी कर रही हूँ एंड फाइनली आई गॉट दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी टू वॉक द राजपथ.
And the tableau of Narcotics Control Bureau will be participating in the Republic Day Parade for the first time this year. Our correspondent Nandita Dagar caught up with the DG of Narcotics Control Bureau, who termed the drug menace in the country as a national security threat.
The message that is very strongly emblazoned on the jhanki itself is Nasha Mukt Bharat. Since we have a demographic dividend where it's a young population, one of the youngest populations in the world, so it is very essential that they should not be indulging in drugs. For the first time, the tableau of the Narcotics Control Bureau will be going down the Kartavya Path. So it's a matter of great pride for us, but it is also a sense of responsibility with which we take it, and to look at national and international level cases, especially of cases of proxy war by the enemies of our country who are from across the border, sending drones, using syndicates, sending through containers, masters as cargo. So all these strategies are part of a proxy war. It is like a weapon of statecraft, political weapon, strategic weapon to undermine the security of India. So drugs, we should not make any mistake, is a national security issue.
Moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Monday said that former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee transformed India's relationship with the United States and ties with Russia. He was addressing the third Atal Bihari Vajpayee Memorial Lecture in the capital, New Delhi. Listen in.
Addressing the third Atal Bihari Vajpayee Memorial Lecture in New Delhi, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said that former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee transformed India's relationship with the United States and ties with Russia.
The manner in which he transformed the relationship with the United States in the post-Cold War environment, recognizing really how much more important and consequential that relationship had become for Indian national interest. The manner in which he imparted continuity and stability to our ties with Russia at a time when so many important relationships in the world were changing. There was a very unique steadiness about the India-Russia relationship, and I think a lot of it had to do with the personal understanding and the efforts which were made by Prime Minister Vajpayee.
The External Affairs Minister said, in the relations with China also, the fundamental basis including respect, mutual sensitivity and mutual interest, which we articulate today, was visible when the then Foreign Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee visited China. Referring to Pokhran nuclear test, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that former PM Atal Bihari Vajpayee's bold step made India a powerful nation and it changed its global image forever.
To all of you, I would urge you to look not just as the test. Please look and reflect on the diplomacy that followed the test. The fact that within a space of 2 years after that test, we had engaged all the major countries of the world, had actually brought them around. So when you had a visit of a President Clinton or a Prime Minister Howard or a Prime Minister Modi, the visit of President Chirac. It was actually the post-test diplomacy, which is something which I think anybody who is in the field of diplomacy should really look at and seek to draw lessons.
The topic of the lecture was the future of global uncertainty. In his address, Chairman of the Middle East Institute, National University of Singapore, Bilahari Kaushikan, referred to Ukraine war and said that cold-blooded murders are going on and the world is watching.
The Ukraine war is unique only because it is occurring in the heart of Europe, or to put things very bluntly, because white people are killing each other for a change, and because nuclear weapon states and permanent members of the UN Security Council are engaged, Russia directly and the US, UK and France at a step removed. These are familiar uncertainties.
The event was presided over by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. The memorial lecture was held as a tribute to former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. DD India.
On to some international updates now. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has asked his independent ethics advisor to look into the tax affairs of Nadeem Zahawi, as there were questions that need answering over the case. Speaking on the matter, UK Prime Minister Sunak said that Zahawi would remain Tory party chairman during the investigation, as the opposition lawmakers are calling for his resignation. It was revealed that Tory party chairman Zahawi paid a penalty to HM Revenue and Customs, or HMRC, over previously unpaid tax while he was Chancellor and part of a multi-million pound dispute.
Integrity and accountability is really important to me, and clearly in this case there are questions that need answering, and that's why I've asked our independent advisor to get to the bottom of everything, to investigate the matter fully and establish all the facts and provide advice to me on Nadeem Zahawi's compliance with the ministerial code. I'm pleased that Nadeem Zahawi has agreed with that approach and has agreed to fully cooperate with that investigation.
Later on, in a statement, Zahawi said that he welcomed the investigation and looked forward to explaining the facts of this issue to Laurie Magnus, the Prime Minister's independent advisor on ministers' interests. Amid Ukraine's demand for more assistance, European Union foreign ministers agreed on Monday to allocate another €500 million for military aid to the war-torn country. Agreement on the seventh such tranche of aid to Ukraine came as the EU's 27 foreign ministers met in Brussels after Western countries failed last week to agree on sending Kiev battle tanks, but pledged billions worth of support. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said that the foreign ministers approved the €500 million package, along with a further $45 million for non-lethal equipment for the EU's military training mission for Ukraine. He added that Germany clarified during the meeting that it would not ban the country that purchased its Leopard tanks to send them to Ukraine.
We reached a political agreement for the seventh tranche of military support, with an additional $500 million and an additional assistance measure worth $45 million for the Ukrainian force being trained by our military training mission.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock also stressed that Germany would not stand in the way if Poland send its German-made Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Baerbock's statement came after the Poland's Prime Minister said that his government would ask Germany for permission to send Leopard tanks to Ukraine and planned to send them whether or not Berlin agreed. The issue of supplying the German-made Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine has dominated recent discussions among Western allies about how much and what sort of material aid they should give to Ukraine.
We have rules for checks. The question has been asked to others. For the moment, the question has not been asked, but if we were asked, we would not stand in the way. I take into consideration what Mr. Kuleba said. Tanks are needed, not just for a ride down the street, It's for defending themselves. I do understand how important these tags are. We are fully aware of that. That's why, with all our partners, we are in process of consultations. What we want to do is to free and save the Ukrainian territory.
Meanwhile, dozens of people gathered outside the European Council to call on EU foreign ministers to deliver German-made Leopard tanks to Ukraine. Germany's Leopard tanks, fielded by armies across Europe, are widely seen as the best fit for Ukraine. But Berlin must authorize their sale, and it is yet to do so. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Monday criticized the West for sending billions of dollars of arms to Kiev. Speaking during a trip to South Africa, he cast the conflict between Moscow and the West as not hybrid and called it almost a real war. South Africa is one of Russia's most important allies on a continent divided over the war in Ukraine and Western attempts to isolate Moscow. South Africa initially called for Russia to withdraw from Ukraine unilaterally, but on Monday, South Africa's Foreign Minister Naledi Pandor said that it was no longer its position. Making an announcement for the reshuffle at key positions amid the war with Russia, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Monday that changes in senior positions in government and in the regions would be made within a day. This is in line with Zelensky's pledge to crack down on corruption at all levels amid a series of allegations of bribe-taking and dubious practices.
There are already personnel decisions regarding officials of various levels in the ministries and central government structures, as well as in the regions and in the law enforcement system.
Okay, time now to slip into a short break here on DD India. When we come back, our focus on the investigation of the US Capitol riots. Of course, this and much more. Stay tuned to DD India.
India.
Salam India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Nahnu Hunuda India.
Ma Hindi Hasti.
Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in Central Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India. As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. Next news about the investigation of the US Capitol riots. 4 more members of the far-right Oath Keepers were found guilty on Monday of seditious conspiracy for taking part in the January 6, 2021 assault on the US Capitol by supporters of Donald Trump in another big win for federal prosecutors. The verdict marks the end of the second major sedition trial against members of the extremist group who were among the hundreds who attacked the Capitol in an unsuccessful attempt to prevent Congress from certifying Democrat Joe Biden's victory over Trump, a Republican, in the 2020 presidential election. Next news from Afghanistan. The United Nations Aid Chief Martin Griffiths visited Kabul on Monday and raised concerns over women's education and work with the Taliban-led government. According to an Afghan ministry statement, the UN Aid Chief engaged in a dialogue with the Taliban's acting Minister of Foreign Affairs. The statement further stated that the UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Martin Griffiths, raised the issue of women's education and work and how this affected the UN's operations. Informing more on the matter, UN spokesman Stephanie Dujarric said Griffiths underscored the message that humanitarian aid cannot be delivered without women.
The schedule is on the ground, but obviously they will be engaging with the de facto authorities with the same message that we've been delivering since the beginning on the need to roll back the policies that were put in place and to underscore the message that humanitarian aid cannot be delivered without women, right? And it's just not ethical to do it without it, and it is not operationally feasible to do it without women's active participation.
Moving on, days after burning of the Quran in front of the Turkish embassy in Stockholm, the US State Department on Monday said that Finland and Sweden are ready to join the NATO alliance. However, the State Department said that burning books that are holy to many is a deeply disrespectful act, adding that something can be lawful but also awful. Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Sweden should not expect Turkey's support for its membership. Protests in Stockholm on 21st of January against Turkey and against Sweden's bid to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization NATO have heightened tensions with Turkey, whose backing Sweden needs to gain entry to the military alliance.
We strongly support their NATO candidacies. Finland and Sweden are ready to join the alliance. They are ready to join the alliance because of their military capabilities, the long-standing security partnership that we have with Finland and Sweden that now goes back decades. We exercise together, we cooperate together, we share information together, but they're also ready to join the alliance because these are highly developed democracies.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres commenced the Ocean Race Summit on Monday in Mindelo. He was accompanied by Cape Verde Prime Minister Yu Correa e Silva with nature's baton by the ocean race competitor and Team Malaysia skipper Boris Herman. As part of his address on the West African island, Guterres urged for more action to be taken by world leaders to tackle the ongoing global ocean emergency. The summit is part of the Oceans Race's sustainability program, seeking to coordinate the different ways in which the event can serve to generate a positive impact on marine life by raising awareness about the threats facing oceans, influencing world leaders, and collaborating with research institutions.
The ocean is life. The ocean is livelihoods, and the ocean is in trouble. Humanity has been waging a senseless and self-defeating war on nature, and the ocean is on the front lines of the battle. Let's all become the champions of ocean needs. Let's end the ocean emergency and preserve and value this precious blue gift for our children and grandchildren.
After a breakdown in the grid triggered the worst electricity outage in months, Pakistan's government began restoring power to millions of people. The power outage highlighted the weak infrastructure of the heavily indebted nation. Millions of Pakistanis lost electricity on Monday as a major power outage swept across the country. Pakistan has been plagued by frequent outages and blackouts in recent years. The outage began in southern Sindh province, leading to a cascading failure at the power plants throughout the country. The failure swept through major cities including Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore, Peshawar and Quetta, as well as dozens of small cities and towns, causing a widespread public outcry. The power breakdown caused a major disruption in daily activity. Internet and mobile phone services blinkered offline in intermittent outages across the country. Under pressure from Washington to stem the flow of dollars into Iran, Iraq's Prime Minister sent elite counter-terrorism forces more accustomed to battling Islamist militants to shut down dealers smuggling the currency to the Islamic Republic. Saturday's raids in Baghdad represent an early test for Prime Minister Mohammad al-Sudani, who took office in October after more than a year of political paralysis and must now tread a delicate diplomatic path. The New York Federal Reserve introduced tighter controls on international dollar transactions by commercial Iraqi banks in November. The move was designed to stop the illegal siphoning of dollars to Iran and apply more pressure, along with US sanctions imposed over Tehran's nuclear program and other disputes, leaving Tehran struggling to source dollars. Aqil al-Fatlabi, a Shiite lawmaker, accused Washington of deliberately using the new regulations as a political weapon. In more international news, Serbia is planning to mend fences with Kosovo. Serbian President Alexander Vučić said on Monday that Serbia needs to consider a plan to normalize its relations with former province Kosovo or risk international isolation. Vučić said Serbia had to take part in a dialogue on a European Union plan, as otherwise they would be at a complete political and economic loss. He asserted that the plan meant Serbia could no longer block Kosovo from joining international institutions, although he said that the UN was not among those stipulated in the plan. Albanian majority Kosovo declared independence from Serbia with the backing of the West in 2008, following a 1998-99 war in which NATO had to intervene to protect ethnic Albanian citizens. Kosovo has failed to join the United Nations and its institutions due to objections from Serbia and its ally Russia. Around 50,000 Serbs living in northern Kosovo refuse to recognize the government in Pristina or the status of Kosovo as a separate country and have the support of the government and many Serbs in Serbia. Autonomy for Kosovo Serbs is one of the several issues that Serbia and Kosovo have failed to agree upon in an EU-sponsored dialogue to normalize their relations, which they started in 2013.
Shvatio sam da je isteklo vreme za razum. Niko ne želi ni da me sluša.
I had to make a decision myself at that moment because they said you must give an answer. I explained what was possible and what wasn't. I will now explain the plan and what we can do. Serbia must communicate, take part in the dialogue and keep following its European path. Not because I like their hypocrisy over their adherence to the UN Charter and UN resolutions, but rather because without it, we would be at a complete political and economic loss. And if we were alone and isolated, I would not consent to lead the nation in such a way as the President.
Burkina Faso's military government has decided to end a military accord that allowed the French troops to fight militants on its territory. Earlier on Saturday, their local media reported that the government had suspended a 2018 military agreement with Paris on January 18th, giving France 1 month to withdraw its troops. Though French President Emmanuel Macron has asked for clarifications from Transitional President Ibrahim Traoré, but the government is clear with their intentions. Adding further, government spokesman Rim Talba Jean-Emmanuel Quadriago said that the end of this accord does not mean an end to diplomatic relations with France and that Burkina Faso still wanted support in the form of military equipment. Kenya's opposition leader Raila Odinga on Monday called on his supporters to resist the government of President William Ruto, saying its disputed election last August had robbed it of legitimacy. Ruto's Kenya Kavanza coalition eked out a narrow victory over Odinga in the election, whose result announcement was accompanied by chaotic scenes at the National Tallying Centre, and his victory was upheld by the Supreme Court. Both leaders, who have dominated politics in East Africa's biggest economy for decades, settled into an uneasy calm after the electoral contest, but Odinga's coalition said last week that it had found new evidence of rigging. Next news from South America. Brazil and Argentina are in early talks to establish a shared unit of value for bilateral trade to reduce their reliance on the US dollar. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva said on Monday, although the move is not aimed at replacing existing currencies. In Buenos Aires, on his first international visit since taking office, Lula made the comments alongside Argentine President Alberto Fernandez, a leftist ally, who said that there was little decided about what would be involved in such a proposal. The two South American leaders met on Monday to sign an agreement to boost bilateral trade ahead of the summit of heads of state and government of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States called CELAC. In related news, according to the economy ministers of Brazil and Argentina, this move will reduce the reliance on the US dollar for the South American countries. Argentina's economy minister Sergio Massa further said that the shared value would be based on each member's gross domestic product, as Fernando Haddad, his Brazilian counterpart, said that it was time to boost the Mercosur trade bloc integration.
It's not the Minister Paulo Guedes' idea of creating a single common currency. It's about pushing forward the instruments planned, and that didn't work satisfactorily. Neither payments in local currency nor the CCR give as of today any guarantee we can move forward with the trading system that neither President Lula nor President Fernandez want.
We are slipping into another short break here on News on the Hour. All the business and sporting action on the other side. Stay tuned.
The changing world of news. Headlines that you wake up to. News that shapes your day. Stories that matter to you. The latest and most accurate updates. A fresh start to a new day. The Breakfast News, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. on DD India.
Welcome back to News on the Hour. In business news, Elon Musk told jurors on Monday that he was sure that he had locked up financial support from Saudi investors in 2018 to take his electric car maker Tesla Inc. private, and could even have used his stake in the rocket company SpaceX to fund a buyout. At a trial in San Francisco federal court, the billionaire, who said he was tired from a lack of sleep, spoke quietly and calmly during roughly 5 hours of testimony. Musk is defending against claims that he defrauded investors by tweeting on August 7, 2018, that he had funding secured to take Tesla private at $420 per share and that, quote, unquote, investor support is confirmed. Overnight on Wall Street, the key stock indices ended sharply higher on Monday, powered by surging technology stocks as investors began an earnings-heavy week with a renewed enthusiasm for market-leading momentum stocks that were battered last year. The session marks a calm before the storm in a week jam-packed with high-profile earnings reports and back-end loaded with crucial economic data. Investors are all but certain that the U.S. Federal Reserve will implement a bite-sized interest rate hike next week, even as the U.S. Central Bank remains committed to taming the hottest inflationary cycle in decades. Financial markets have priced in a 99.8% likelihood of a 25 basis point hike to the Fed funds target rate at the conclusion of its two-day monetary policy meeting next Wednesday, according to CME's Fed Watch tool. And back home, G20 business leaders met in Gandhinagar, Gujarat on Monday for the B20 Inception meeting. The theme of B20, formed under the aegis of India's G20 presidency, is RAISE. RAISE stands for Responsible for R, Accelerated for A, Innovative for I, Sustainable for S and Equitable Businesses for E. Established in 2010, B20 is the official G20 dialogue forum with the global business community on economic and trade governance. In the opening session of the B20 India Inception meeting, Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said that India has taken 4 approaches to resolve some of the pressing problems, which include approaches towards economic management, digital economy, regulation in digital economy and new technologies. He also highlighted the investment growth in the country.
The quarterly private investment in the country was somewhere around 180 billion US pre-COVID. Now that has come to 240 billion US quarterly investment. So that is significant jump. Credit offtake has increased to practically multi-year high to almost 17% year on year. That's again a very good jump. The investment as a percentage of GDP has grown from 26% to 31%. That again is a good structural change in the economy.
Addressing the inaugural session, Union Minister Piyush Goyal said that 4 I's that are driving India's growth are massive investments in infrastructure, focus on integrity, inclusive development and international outlook.
The international outlook that Prime Minister Modi has brought to the table. So the 4 I's, massive investment on infrastructure, focus on high levels of integrity, inclusive development and international outlook will actually add tremendous wings to help the Indian economy possibly do even better than the numbers on a business as usual case.
On to sports news now. In men's cricket, India and New Zealand are all set to face off each other in the last match of the 3-match ODI series on Tuesday. Having already lost the series 2-0, the Kiwis would want to finish this leg of the tour on a high. The men in blue, on the other hand, would want to be ruthless and win the series by a margin of 3-0. Before we dive into all the action, here's our report with more details.
India and New Zealand will be facing off in the third and final one-day international at the Holkar Stadium in Indore on Tuesday. Having already sealed the series, an elated Indian team would now be eyeing a whitewash by coming out on top in this dead rubber contest. Should the hosts succeed in getting the job done, then they will complete a second straight ODI series whitewash this month, having blanked the Sri Lanka 3-0 earlier. Meanwhile, it would also be interesting to see whether the Indian team management would be making any changes in their playing 11 to give some exposure to their bench strength with an eye on the 50-over World Cup later this year. The Kiwis, on the other hand, had an off day in the last game where they were totally outplayed by the hosts in all departments of the game. While the bowlers have struggled in the absence of seasoned pacers, the top order batting has been a cause of concern for them throughout this series. The visitors would now be desperate to salvage pride by trying their level best to avoid a humiliating whitewash in this inconsequential clash. Talking about the pitch report, the surface at the Holkar Stadium will be an outstanding one for batting, and the batters will be expecting to have a gala time once they are well set on the 22 yards. The third ODI could witness a high-scoring encounter with hardly any purchase for the bowlers on this wicket. Therefore, the captain winning the toss might want to bowl first. Sports Desk, DD India.
Now from cricket to hockey, quarterfinals of the 2023 Men's Hockey World Cup begin in Bhubaneswar today. Spain will face Australia in the first quarterfinal. After defeating Malaysia in penalty shootout, Spain had beaten Malaysia 4-3 in penalty shootout in a thrilling crossover match to qualify for the quarterfinals of the FIH Men's Hockey World Cup after the two sides were locked 2-2 in Bhubaneswar on Sunday. Germany trounced France 5-1 to complete the quarter-final lineup of the Hockey World Cup, and Gonzalo Pelliot played a stellar role in the match. Pelliot, who last played the Hockey World Cup from Argentina, has now switched his allegiance to Germany after falling out with the Argentinian team. And in 2023 Hockey World Cup, he is showing his class. Watch our correspondents speak to him after the match against France.
Joining me is Gonzalo Pelliot, the man who has turned this whole match, and 5-1 is a great score line. But one believes that when after the half time, you guys were leading 4-0. You probably wanted to score more. Or is it that something that you guys talk about, that don't want to get too involved in it and want to hold back some things?
No, I think we talked in the halftime to keep possession of the ball. It's something that we did quite well, but France was a bit high on the field, so the spaces were smaller. And the intensity, of course, after 4-0 get a bit lower, but I think we need to keep pushing in these moments. It's really important for the mental part and also for the team.
Germany has shown in this World Cup a knack of converting penalty corners, and also suddenly they are a very top contender to win this particular edition. How do you see your chances, your team's chances, especially in the next match?
I think we need to keep pushing the corners. I think today we were quite efficient. In the first half the field was full of water, so I think that is something that the FIH must control here. And in the second half was perfect. We could flick better, we could push it on target.
Much appreciated time. So that was Gonzalo Pelliot telling us that they are looking forward, and this particular tournament was it's looking like that Germany is coming in terms in this tournament, and they are a very strong contender to live this particular edition of the Hockey World Cup. With camera person Smurti Ranjan, this is Apush Bhattacharya for GD India from the Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar.
In another quarter-final fixture, New Zealand will take on reigning world champions Belgium today. Earlier, New Zealand beat India 5-4 in the penalty shootout. New Zealand goalkeeper Dominic Dixon, after his team's victory, had said that his fellow goalkeeper Leon Hayward has been excellent in this tournament. In the other crossover match, South Korea defeated Argentina 3-2 in the penalty shootout after the scores were levelled 5-all at the full time. South Korea will play 2018 runners-up the Netherlands in the quarterfinals. South Korea kept the Asian flag flying high in the Hockey Men's World Cup on Monday, riding on a brilliant performance by goalkeeper Jae Hyun Kim to overcome Argentina at 3-2 in a shootout after fighting back from 2 goals down in the fourth quarter to hold the 2016 Rio Olympics gold medalists 5-5 in regulation time. Listen in to what the team had to say to our correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya.
Is Jeong King the hero of the match between South Korea and Argentina? The way he defended, the penalties are amazing. Jeong, your heart must be on your mouth. You know, it was do or die. You had to win, and what a match for you.
My teammates, I aim for confidence, and many time tournament to shoot out to win. My team and good confidence, so they believe. Yeah.
You had a belief, and your team came back. You were down, and you know, even in the match, you guys scored at the fag in the last quarter. What was the mood when the last quarter started?
My team for and good spirit and good work. Many time coach and to defensive and good pressure, and so many for lucky goal. Yeah.
Quarter-final berth, huge thing for you people. Your team. What are you looking forward to in quarter-final?
Yeah. Quarter-final is versus Netherlands, and tonight 2 games to same. First for defensive play, and second to a counter attack and penalty corner, and 2.
Much appreciate your time, and all the best for your quarter-final match. That was Jeong King, the man who defended the goalpost to make sure that the team make it to the quarter-final. With camera person Smurti Ranjan, this is Tapas Bhattacharya for GD India from the Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar.
And on to women's cricket now. Smriti Mandhana and Harmanpreet Kaur slammed individual 50s as the Indian women cricket team clinched a comfortable win over West Indies by 56 runs in the women's T20 tri-series on Monday. Batting first, India scored 167 in 20 overs with the loss of 2 wickets. In reply, West Indies could score only 111 from Indian side. Deepti Sharma again starred with the ball, who took 2 wickets for India in the series so far. It has been 2 wins out of 2 for India, and both have been convincing. They have 2 more games to tick off a few boxes, and same goes for the West Indies. The next game is slated on Wednesday. And foreign tourists travelling at the world's longest river cruise, Ganga Vilas, are exploring India's great myriad of landscapes, heritage and culture. On Monday, the cruise reached Hazarduari in Murshidabad district of West Bengal. Tourists visited the historic palace of Nawab Nazim Humayun Jah and other prominent places. More in our next report.
The world's longest river cruise, Ganga Vilas, which is travelling from Varanasi to Dibrugarh via Bangladesh, reached Hazarduari, situated on the bank of river Ganga in Murshidabad district of West Bengal. Upon reaching Hazarduari, tourists visited the historic palace of Nawab Nazim Humayun Jah. The palace is a unique example of Italian and Greek architecture. Tourists also relished the beauty of the Imam Bada. After this, the caravan moved towards Katra Masjid, and tourists were enthralled by the unique workmanship of the buildings. The tourists appreciated the craftsmanship of India's oldest building construction and architecture.
This place especially provides a very huge collection of antiques and also big pictures. And it's really amazing to find not only the information about the history, but also you can see something about the history, and you have the best choice actually in here.
The Inland Waterways Authority of India is constantly striving to make the journey a success. Through this, waterway tourism will be promoted in the country and means of employment will be developed. Every stop of this journey is presenting a picture of India's cultural heritage. Bureau Report, DD India.
So that was the swift sail of MV Ganga Vilas. For some, travel is therapy. With that thought, we wind up this bulletin. Thank you for joining us. Namaskar.